Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and I thought I would continue our conversation on Python classes with a discussion of inheritance. In our last video, we created the class dog. So that way we can create dogs like Sparky and Spot. The problem is, you know, there are different size dogs. Yellow Lab can be very big relative to some terriers. So maybe I want to be able to delineate a small dog versus a medium dog. I could just add a property saying the size of the dog, but what if there was a very different behaviors from a small dog to a big dog? Well, what I could do is I could create a small and big dog class. But do I really want to have to recreate a new name property, breed property, and bark? That's all stuff that any dog is going to have. So I instead of creating basically, instead of letting my code inflate by typing up the same stuff over and over again, I can just create my new classes and just borrow from the dog class that already exists. So I'll do is I'll create a class small dog. So convention is when you name classes that you name them in capitals. And then I put dog as a parameter, which means that I'm creating a new class called small dog that inherits from dog. So it's going to start off with everything that dog does. And I could create a whole new constructor. Now keep in mind, if I create a new constructor, it'll still run the original constructor from dog. Okay, so you have to kind of keep that in mind. But that's just so you know. Cool. But maybe I just want to add another property. Let's say, we'll just create a new function. So we'll say def small dog yap, or we'll call it yap. Takes no parameters. Okay, and basically what it just does is print yap. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing with the big dog. I'll just copy and paste this over. Instead of yap, it's going to have a howl. Again, this is going to be a big dog. Okay, so let's do this. Instead of Sparky being a small dog, or a dog, we're going to say that Sparky is a big dog because it's a yellow lab. Okay, and then we're going to make Spot a Shih Tzu. Make it more clearly a small dog. We'll make that a small dog. Okay, they'll both bark. And then Sparky will howl. And Spot will yap. Okay, let's make sure that all runs fine. Let's see here, print yap. Oh, the parentheses. Oh, that's right, self. And we discussed this in the last video that I gotta always make sure you include self in the parameters. Okay. There we go. So you see, Sparky Spot. Okay, Sparky Spot print Sparky name, and see it still prints their name because even though I never defined any properties in small dog or big dog, it inherits it from the dog. So then it still runs the same constructor from dog and does the same stuff with it. So basically, you end up in the same place that you started with. Now, that's annoying. Why would they need the bark and howl? Wouldn't it be cool if I could just change how the bark function works? You could override the bark function. So what I'll do is I'll take this out. And basically, if you write the bark function inside small dog, so if I just change this to bark, what it does, it'll override the original bark function. So instead of saying bow wow, they'll say yap or howl. Um, and that's a cool thing about, inheritance. I still get to inherit everything else that I want to keep, but then I can just override the stuff that's going to be different and add as needed. So let's see, make sure that works. See, and how yap. Okay, so in that case, I only need to have one function. You can have different types of dogs. You create the type of dog that you need, but they're going to bark differently depending on what kind of dog it is. Okay, and that's the benefit of inheritance. You can have this sort of top parent class that has the basic outline, and then create all these child classes. And then you can go even, theoretically, you can go even further down from that and create the individual breeds. You don't necessarily want to end up with too many classes, so you always want to think about sort of what makes sense and what's going to result in you typing up less code. Okay, so basically, sort of, in a sense, theoretically, I could have created a bark function that just took a parameter so that way I could have the custom bark. But if I'm going to have a lot of small dogs, why type yap every time as a parameter when I can just have a small dog subclass with the overridden function? So you kind of have to think through sort of what your needs are. What do you think your program's going to do? Are you going to do what are you going to be doing over and over again? And then that's when you start thinking, okay, should this be a class? Should this be a function? And do I need a subclass? So if I'm going to be creating a certain version of my main class more than once or more than 2 or 3 times with the same parameters, um, then maybe it's worth making a subclass because that way you already have the template for that already set up in place. But that's what classes do. So I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day and enjoy.